Welcome to Reflect with Ed Fassio. Get ready to experience one of the world's first 100% digitally generated podcasts, where we take a step back, dive deep, and strive to learn new things. Join us as we unpack thought-provoking ideas, personal reflections, and inspiring stories to help you stay in the know. Reflect is brought to you by the minds at ByteBrain and powered by emerging technologies from Google, HeyGen, OpenAI, and 11 Labs. Thanks for tuning in. Now, relax and prepare to reflect.
Okay, so let's dive in. You know that feeling, right? Where you're just swamped trying to get your head around AI? All the headlines, the job stuff, the breakthroughs. It's a lot.
It really is. It's easy to get lost in the noise.
And you wonder what's really changing things, especially in big sectors like, say, IT services, which are built on people and knowledge. Feels like something big is shifting there.
That's exactly right. And we're trying to look past AI as just, a fancier tool.
Okay.
Today, we're focusing on agentic AI. The sources we've been digging into, they describe it as this autonomous evolving force.
Evolving.
Yeah, and it seems to be fundamentally reshaping IT services and honestly, maybe the nature of work itself.
And for this deep dive, we're leaning on some really insightful stuff, right? White papers and Q&A from Ed Fassio over at bytebrain.org.
That's the material. It gives a pretty sharp view of this transformation.
So our mission today, figure out what this agentic AI thing really is, how it's messing with the old ways of doing things, what the future might look like for companies, for people.
And crucially, how these systems aren't just static, how they're designed to actually get better, to evolve.
Okay, let's jump right in then. What is agentic AI? How's it different from the automation we kind of already know?
Yeah, it's a super important distinction. Traditional automation, it follows the script, do this, then do that.
I'm pretty rigid.
Exactly. Agentic AI, well, the sources call it an autonomous evolving force.
Okay, break that down. Autonomous means?
It means it can handle whole workflows on its own. It can make decisions, trigger other systems, deliver the final outcome without needing a person to step in at every stage.
So no manual handoffs.
Pretty much. And unlike that rigid automation, these are learning systems. They adapt, they use context, they use feedback, they have this sort of dynamic logic.
So they don't just do the task, they figure out how to do it better.
That's the core idea. They learn and improve as they go.
Okay, that does sound like a big step up. The source material talks about this leading to the cracking pyramid. What's that about? Can you sketch out that traditional IT structure for us?
Sure. Think about IT services firms for the last, few decades, always structured like a pyramid.
Right.
You had your senior folks, the experts, the architects at the very top, small group. Then below them, a much bigger middle layer, consultants, developers, project managers.
The engine room, sort of.
Kind of, yeah. And then supporting all that, a really wide base. Junior people, testers, often large offshore teams doing the more repeatable work.
And that structure existed because
human effort was the bottleneck. If you wanted to do more work, make more money, you basically had to hire more people, often cheaper people offshore. That's how you scaled.
Okay, standard model.
Yeah.
So how does agentic AI crack that pyramid?
Well, it fundamentally removes that human labor bottleneck.
How so?
These agentic systems can now do a lot of the core tasks that used to need all those people in the middle and the base.
Like what specifically?
Things like generating pretty complex code, managing intricate workflows across different systems, pulling insights from mountains of documents, understanding the context of a request, and then critically acting on that understanding autonomously.
Right, not just suggesting, but doing.
Exactly. And the sources are pretty clear. This isn't just, making things a bit faster. It's revolutionary. It fundamentally destabilizes that whole pyramid idea.
Wow. Okay, if you don't need those huge teams for the repeatable stuff. Yeah, I can see how the pyramid starts to look shaky.
It crumbles from the base up, in a way.
And this connects directly to what the source calls the collapse of arbitrage, right? What were those traditional ways firms made money through arbitrage?
Yeah, the profitability often boiled down to three main arbitrage plays. First, time billing for hours worked.
Billable hours, yeah.
Second, bodies charging based on headcount, the number of people assigned, full-time equivalents, FTEs, that sort of thing.
Right.
And third, geography taking advantage of lower labor costs in different parts of the world, onshore versus offshore.
Okay, time, bodies, geography, the three pillars. And agentic AI just knocks them all down.
It hits all three simultaneously. That's what's so disruptive.
Oh.
Okay, time arbitrage. It collapses because agents can do tasks incredibly fast, orders of magnitude faster sometimes.
So hours become irrelevant.
Mostly, yeah. Body arbitrage disappears because the agent's logic, its ability to learn and execute, replaces the need for masses of human effort.
Aye.
And geographic arbitrage, suddenly irrelevant. An agent is digital. It doesn't have a location. It runs wherever the compute is. Onshore, offshore cost differences just vanish.
So if you're a firm still selling based on hours, headcount, or where your team sits, what happens?
You face massive deflationary pressure. Your whole value proposition starts to evaporate.
Because the thing you're selling is being done faster and cheaper by AI.
Exactly. Margins just get squeezed, potentially disappearing entirely if you don't pivot fast.
Sounds, yeah, incredibly disruptive. But the source material is also careful. It seems not to just say everyone's out of a job. It talks about the human role evolving.
Yes, very much so. The sources push back hard against the idea that humans just become obsolete.
Okay.
What happens is that the kind of work humans do changes. A lot of the repeatable, execution-heavy stuff, that gets automated by scalable intelligence.
Right.
But a critical human layer absolutely remains. We shift. We stop being the primary doers of the tasks.
And become.
We become the designers, the architects, the orchestrators of that intelligence.
Okay, so what do those new roles look like? What are we talking about?
Well, the material points to things like prompt engineers, people who are really good at telling the agents what outcome is needed, crafting that intent. Agent designers, the folks actually building and configuring these agents. Workflow orchestrators, connecting different agents, different systems, making them work together smoothly.
More strategic roles.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Also, data compliance architects, making sure these powerful agents use data correctly and ethically. And outcome governance leads, ensuring the agents are actually delivering the desired business results safely and effectively.
So the value moves up the stack, away from just doing the task.
Precisely. It's about designing the capability and governing the outcome, not just executing the process.
That completely changes the game. It's less about being, say, a great coder and more about being a great architect of intelligent systems.
That's a good way to put it.
Which means firms need totally new ways to make money, right? New revenue model.
Oh, absolutely. The old ways just won't cut it. The sources outline a pretty necessary pivot.
Like what?
Okay, so instead of time and materials billing, you move to outcome-based pricing. You sell the result the agent delivers, not the time it took.
Got it. Pay for success.
Right. Instead of selling talent as a service, bodies, you sell agentic capability as a service, access to the intelligence system itself.
Makes sense.
Instead of building everything custom from scratch every time, you build productized accelerators, reusable intelligent components or frameworks.
Faster deployment.
Much faster. And instead of just reacting to client requests, you focus on proactive enablement, using agents to anticipate needs or optimize things before the client even asks.
Okay.
And fundamentally, you stop scaling by just adding more people, the pyramid model, and start scaling through IP-led orchestration. Your intellectual property, your agent designs, your frameworks become the way you grow.
So the firms that succeed,
Yeah.
they won't look or sound much like the old consulting shops, will they?
Probably not. The source uses the term vanguard firms.
From vendor to vanguard. I like that.
Yeah, and these vanguard firms will probably feel more like, say, a SaaS company or a platform provider.
Oh, they actually offer.
Things like plug-and-play AI agents for specific tasks, packaged frameworks for orchestrating complex processes, maybe even dedicated agent-ops support desks.
Like a help desk for your AI team.
Kind of, yeah, for managing and maintaining these systems. Also, maybe co-branded solutions built on their platforms, or doing really rapid proof of concepts focused purely on hitting business metrics.
So the whole competitive edge changes. It's not about throwing more people at a problem.
Exactly. The edge comes from showing up with leverage, using intelligent systems to deliver way more value than pure human effort ever could.
Okay, I think I get the what and the why, what agentic AI is, how it disrupts the market. But you mentioned earlier these systems evolve. That feels like the really mind-bending part. How do you design something intelligent that actually gets better over time on its own?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. And it's what separates, truly agentic systems from just very clever automation. The source material lays out some key principles for building in this evolvability.
Okay, let's hear them.
First up, feedback loops. You have to build in ways for the system to learn from what it does.
How does that work?
It's more than just logging errors. It's about creating systematic ways for the agent to, like, review its performance, see the results, maybe get user feedback, and then use that to refine its approach next time, almost like self-reflection for the AI.
Giving it memory and the ability to learn from mistakes, basically.
Exactly. Second principle, prompt awareness and editable logic.
What does that mean?
So prompts are kind of the agent's core instructions. It's behavioral DNA, if you like. For an agent to evolve, it needs to be able to adjust those prompts dynamically as the situation changes.
Okay.
And even more advanced, using what they call meta agents.
Agents managing agents.
Right. Using those to actually adjust the agent's own underlying logic or even its goals based on how well it's performing over time.
Whoa, okay. So an agent could literally change its own instructions. That's a big deal.
It is. Third principle, modular architecture.
Like building blocks.
Kind of. Designing the system with distinct composable roles. Maybe you have a planner agent that figures out the steps, an executor agent that takes the actions, a validator agent that checks the work. Having these separate modules makes the whole system flexible. You can update or swap out one part, add a new capability without having to rebuild everything. That's crucial for continuous evolution.
Makes sense. Easier to upgrade parts than a whole monolith.
Exactly. Fourth, continuous learning pipelines. Evolution isn't a one-off event.
Right, it have to be ongoing.
So you need processes for constantly feeding the agent new information and helping it learn. This could be fine-tuning its underlying AI model with new data.
Okay.
Or using something called RAG, retrieval augmented generation. Think of it like giving the agent access to a library of specific up-to-date knowledge it can consult.
So it can't access current info.
Right. And also using live telemetry, real-time data on how it's performing to constantly tweak its behavior.
And this learning, it's not just about getting technically better. It's tied to business goals.
That's the fifth principle.
Yeah.
Outcome-based optimization.
Success.
The goal isn't just for the agent to complete tasks accurately. It's for the agent to get better at achieving actual business outcomes, like reducing process time or increasing sales conversion rates or improving customer satisfaction scores. You use things like reward models borrowed from reinforcement learning where the agent gets rewarded for actions that lead to those better business results.
So you're actively steering its evolution towards what matters for the business.
Precisely. But with all this autonomy and self-improvement, governance becomes absolutely critical.
I was just thinking that. How do you keep this under control?
Which leads to the sixth principle, governance and ethical guardrails. This is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Often this means having a dedicated guardian agent. Its whole job is to watch the other agents.
A supervisor AI?
Sort of. It monitors performance, checks for things like AI hallucinations or bias, ensures transparency, manages risks, and makes sure everything stays within ethical boundaries as the system evolves. You need constant oversight for responsible evolution.
Okay, that makes sense. A built-in check and balance.
And finally, number 7, you need to maintain an agentops function.
Agentops, like DevOps, but for AI agents.
Exactly like that. Managing these evolving systems is a whole new operational discipline. You need people and processes dedicated to monitoring agent health, managing how their logic and memory get updated, overseeing the learning process, running experiments safely, and just making sure these systems scale reliably and responsibly.
Right.
The source puts it really well. You have to treat these agents less like static code you just deploy and more like digital teammates.
Digital teammates.
Yeah.
That need ongoing management, guidance, development.
Exactly. To ensure they perform optimally and crucially evolve in the right direction.
That completely reframes the whole thing. It's not just deploying software, it's cultivating an intelligent, evolving workforce.
A very different mindset.
So, pulling this all together, what's the new benchmark? What's the new bar for success in this agentic world?
Yeah, the source is pretty emphatic here. Just building something with AI that's quickly becoming table stakes. Everyone's going to be able to do that, more or less.
So that's not the differentiator anymore.
No. The real differentiator, the new bar, is about 3 things. 1, can you orchestrate multiple agents, multiple systems into a seamless, intelligent whole?
Okay. Integration and orchestration.
2, can you own the outcome? Can you guarantee the business result that whole orchestrated system delivers, not just say, we built the code?
Taking responsibility for the end result.
Right. And 3, the crucial one we've been discussing, can you design and manage that system so it evolves, so it continuously learns and gets better over time?
Because if it doesn't evolve...
then automation without adaptation is just, Well, it's just a legacy system waiting to break or become irrelevant.
Right. Gets outdated fast.
So the fundamental question people need to ask shifts. It's not what cool AI thing can we build anymore. It's what intelligent, evolving system can we set in motion that will keep getting better at delivering the outcomes we need. That's the new measure of capability.
So wrapping this up, Agentic AI, it's not just tinkering around the edges, it's fundamentally changing the rules, especially in industries like IT services.
Absolutely. The old pyramid structure, cracking. The arbitrage models based on time, bodies, location, collapsing.
But it's not all doom and gloom. It's creating space for new, arguably more strategic human roles.
Roles focused on design, orchestration, governance.
And totally new business models. Models built around delivering outcomes and managing continuously evolving intelligence.
Man, look, this isn't some far-off future thing. This impacts how businesses need to think now about their operations, about the skills they need, about the very structure of work in this digital age.
Okay, so here's something to chew on as we finish. We've heard that just building AI is becoming standard. The real challenge, the real value is in orchestrating these systems, owning the outcome, and making sure they evolve. So thinking about that, what do you believe is the single most important capability, whether for a whole organization or just for you as an individual, to really cultivate and master, to thrive in this coming post-pyramid agentic era?
That really is the question to ponder, isn't it?
Definitely something to think about how these shifts might play out in your own world.
In the cyber ocean of online voices and recycled content, something different has arrived. Reflect isn't just another podcast, it's the future of storytelling, powered entirely by AI. From curating data to assembling thought-provoking ideas, we've redefined how journeys are told. Reflect is a podcast that thinks, learns, and evolves with each episode. Every tale, every insight, crafted by the most advanced AI technologies. A podcast that disrupts the industry, breaking free from traditional formats, taking you on an entirely new experience. So tune in now and reflect. We're telling the future.